Everyone's obsessed with getting more traffic to their Shopify store to hopefully increase revenue. But what if I told you that there's actually a better, more efficient way leveraging AI and using marketing tactics that will actually help your bottom line so much more than what it is right now? And the reason for that is because since 2019, the whole way that we recover revenue and recover lost revenue has really changed with the landscape of AI and how accessible and easy it is to use in today's day and age. So what we're going to do today is break down exactly ways that you can improve that and recover all of that lost revenue that you're currently losing and leaving on the table. And this could amount to as much as 6 figures. So without further ado, let's jump into my screen and let's break this down. So as I mentioned before, or just here at the beginning of the video, is the average abandoned cart rate is 70%. And that's incredibly high. And some of you may already know this, but it's such a very important metric, because if we don't focus on it, then what we're doing is we're spending our ad dollars, but we're not maximizing the amount of money that we're spending. And a lot of times, most businesses fail because they don't learn how to be efficient with the ad spend they have, and they're not squeezing as much revenue from that ad spend as possible. And that's what we're going to kind of get into today a little bit, okay? So let's just kind of like start at a high level here and understand a little bit about what this abandonment funnel looks like. And we won't spend too much long on here, because I know some of you already know this, but for some of you out there, just to kind of conceptualize and set the tone for this video and going through this together, I want to touch on this. So for example, let's say we get 1,000 visits to the website, right? 100 people add to cart, which is about 10%. And then 70 of those people abandon their cart, right? They don't end up purchasing. And then we end up capturing 30 purchases. This would equate to, if a product costs $30, it would equate to 30 purchases at $30 is $900 in revenue, right? Now, this is an important funnel to think about and understand, because there's lots of things that we can do to improve these metrics across the board. And so we really want to focus on fixing out abandoned carts and really improving this and finding more ways than just kind of like a simple abandoned cart email, right? There's other ways that we can do this and improve this metric. So if we learn how to maximize our abandoned carts and capture more abandoned carts, we have the same amount of visitors coming to the website, right? 1,000 website visitors, 100 add to carts. We have 70 abandoned carts. But what if we recover 50% of those abandoned carts, right? Then we end up with an extra 35 purchases, which is about 65 purchases from those same 1,000 visitors, which at a $30 price point and 65 purchases, we'd end up with $19.50 in revenue, which is significantly more than the first example. And so it's important to understand this, because if we don't focus on this, businesses go out of business because they don't put enough attention on their back end. And that's why I really try and focus on what can we do on the back end to recover revenue, because we're already spending our dollars, and a lot of businesses don't do this very well. So let's take a look at this abandoned cart, right? This is a very important but basic email that most of you are already familiar with, that you probably already have running in your store, but it's important to have because a lot of recovered revenue can come from this email, okay? And so the goal behind this is to be able to remind your customers or your potential customers that there's a product that they were meant to purchase, and you're just following up to basically prompt them to finish checking out. Now, a lot of times this is done with an incentive. So if you do have, or you don't have an abandoned cart set up, make sure you set one up right away. This is like really, really important. And the focus on this is giving them an extra incentive, which is something like a discount code, for example, or maybe there's some sort of offer that you have that you can give away something for free, in addition to giving them a timeline on when they need to get it done, right? Create some urgency to purchase the product. But the goal here is that you want to be following up with people who've added something to cart that didn't actually purchase, okay? Pretty basic stuff for all of us here. So with this, for example, one thing that I've found work really, really well is using GIFs, or if some of you might say GIFs, but we'll call them GIFs for this purpose. But you can create some sort of a GIF that also makes it a bit more interactive, that still doesn't take up a lot of space, so it will still load quickly, or it's not a high file size. And you can include this in your abandoned cart email. Now, we're not going to go deep in today about like how to exactly structure those campaigns or those emails. We did that in the previous video, went into a bit more depth on that, and we'll get into that in the future videos as well. But the point here is that you want to make sure this abandoned cart email is set up. And the thing we're going to add to this to help improve recovered revenue is adding something with SMS as well, but something that you might not anticipate or might not already have set up or know about. And I'm going to dive into that in just a second. So with this in place, you want to make sure that the time that it's set to run is not conflicting with some of your SMS campaigns or any other promotions that you have going on. So making sure that you have the time set where the email goes out, and sometimes you can have multiple emails go out for abandoned carts to follow with them. For example, there's a sequence here that we have where, there's a trigger, right? The checkout starts, we wait 4 hours, this first email goes out, and then we wait another 20 hours and a second email goes out, okay? So this can happen, over 2 emails. Sometimes people do 3, but, for this purpose, we're just going to stay pretty basic and just keep it at 1 here. We're just showing you this one at the moment. So with that all said, if you don't have your abandoned cart set up or you're looking for inspiration on how you can improve your abandoned carts, then we'll have a template linked below in this video that we also shared in the last video, going into what kind of winning templates that you can use based on successful SMS and email that you can use just as a reference point to help you build out your own. So you can go and download that below in the description. So the other aspect to this is the SMS side of things. Now, typically you might think, well, you can't really do a cart abandonment for SMS. And if you did, then, there's not really a whole lot that you can do with it other than saying, hey, you left some in your cart, go and finish your purchase, right? Well, with TxtCart, this is something that we've used a lot in our businesses, is being able to recover your cart value and do so using AI. So one of the great things about using TxtCart is that it's conversational AI. So once someone has left something in the cart, they can come back and actually finish their purchase and have a conversation with someone in a text format, which is something that isn't really a commonly known thing. And a lot of people aren't utilizing this as well as they could. So TxtCart allows you to do that, have conversational AI. So like, for example, one example here that I can show you is you can see here that we've got Lindsay who's communicating with Cynthia, and, just say the message, say, I saw you were checking out, our product. Great choice. Want to see if we can get you a discount. You can reply stop to opt out for text, because that's just following compliance. And is what TxtCart does really well is like it helps you follow all the compliance laws so you don't get in trouble. And then Cynthia replies, sure. And then Lindsay replies, awesome. I just made you a discount code for 10% off. It's, take 10. Just make sure you apply to checkout to get your discount. Smiley face. Right? Then it actually links the link to go to the checkout with the discount applied, right? And then Cynthia replies, thanks. And then Lindsay replies, no problem. This was all automated. This was not done by any person at the company. This was just automated. This is what conversational AI is all about. And it's getting better and better and better every day, to the point where I think there's some future things where you're really going to be able to have like full-on conversations with people where they can answer more complex questions, right? Like at this point, it's able to answer and have conversations on this level. And I'm just excited to see like what's possible in the future with conversational AI. So without going too far into detail here, this is an example of what this can do for you. And this runs on autopilot. So let's say hypothetically you have again, we'll go back to our board here. 1,000 visitors come to your website, right? 100 people add to cart. We have 70 people abandoned, and we have 30 purchases happen from that. But what happens if we recover 50%? And let's say right now you have email and you're only covering maybe 25%, right? Or maybe you have an SMS going out where it sends them like, hey, you forgot to check out, but is not able to have those conversations with them. We see that by having conversations with your customers or potential customers, it increases the recovery rate so much more as well than just sending like one text. So that's another advantage as well. But if you can do that, then this is going to help you recover sometimes even double the amount of revenue that you would have on that initial ad spend. So let's go back to looking at our schedule, right? So we basically got our 2 abandoned carts set up, one for 4 hours, and then the second email for 20 hours after the abandoned cart. So we've got those 2 emails going out, but then we have an SMS going out 6 hours after the abandoned cart. And this includes conversational AI. So this actually has conversations with the people who are abandoning cart. So basically, you increase your touch points, and increasing your touch points will help to move people further to the purchase and be able to make more of an impact on your bottom line. So really, like the way that you fix your abandoned carts is to have your abandoned cart email sequence as you normally do. You can have your SMS abandoned cart set up, but what is better and what I found works better for us with our own brand, Gainetics, is we have conversational AI that's actually having conversations with our customers, and particularly around the Q4 season, as we ramp up for Q4, this is where it gets crazy because there's so many conversations that are happening. A lot of times, like, we don't have time to be messaging back customers, right? And yes, we have a customer service that handles orders and whatnot in email, but with being able to have higher touch points, it helps recover a higher percentage of revenue, which ultimately helps grow your business. I see too many times businesses fail because they don't focus enough on the back end side of things. And this is one of those ways that can do that. So let's touch on a couple of things that you could do to basically improve your abandoned carts, right? So the first thing that you could look at is your metrics, right? So you can see your open, your click rate, your placed order rate. Now, typically for an abandoned cart, you want to be somewhere between 40 to 50% is considered good. If it's a little bit lower, maybe there's a way that you can improve your subject lines. One thing that we like to do too is kind of A/B test. So you can A/B test your subject line and trying to see if you can outcompete your best email. So one process that we put in place is, on a monthly or quarterly basis, we can go in and see, okay, which one converted the best, and then make an iteration or another version of that email or of that SMS and be able to compare data against each other so that you can kind of continue to kind of compete with yourself, right? And if you don't put this in place, then you're not going to be able to really make the improvements that you need to. But A/B testing and noticing things that you can do, or testing one variable at a time, right? So like, for example, let's say you're testing a subject line that's focused on the product benefit, right? Maybe you could test another product or subject line that's focused on the offer, and you could test those two things against each other to see if with the same exact email that one gets a higher open rate and a higher click rate, right? So there's lots of different tests that you can run, and maybe we can make another video on that, kind of going into like what kind of testing you can do with email SMS. But in terms of fixing your abandoned cart, like let's say you're in a situation where you need to generate more revenue from somewhere, right? And you're looking at ways and solutions to do that. And that's how you found this video. Doing more A/B split testing and trying to outcompete your best results is a great way to look at it. We do that a lot with our ads as well, with our email, with our SMS, with anything to do with marketing. We can look at our data. That way we can actually observe it and make improvements based on that information. And if you schedule it on a monthly or quarterly basis, you can make those improvements and see the results of those improvements. So same goes for SMS. So that's one way that you can do that. Another way you can do segmentation, you can do further segmentation on your abandoned carts. We like to keep things simple. We notice that keeping things simple just make it more impactful. But let's say you have a very, very large customer list or abandoned cart list. You could segment based on the products that people buy. So let's say you have a lot of different SKUs and maybe there's different kinds of emails that you want to send because you have different offers for your products. Is you could segment out based on the product they purchase and create an abandoned cart for that product specifically, which is going to make it a little bit more specific and personalized to that customer, which will in turn likely improve the results and the KPIs. So that's definitely something that you can do to improve that as well. So one last thing I want to touch on is the document that I linked below, where you can get some proven email and SMS marketing templates. This is meant to be a starting point for you if you're trying to figure out what can you do to improve this. Now, these email and SMS marketing templates are based on successful campaigns that have been run in the past. So you can use these, take aspects from them, incorporate them into your current emails, and then you can also use a combination of leveraging AI. I know many of you are integrated with either ChatGPT or Claude. These are great platforms to help you kind of develop your emails and SMS as well, and creating folders that you can reference key information about your brand and business and your products and your offer to kind of help create that for you as well. And went over that a lot in the last video as well to show you how to actually break that down and how to prompt, how to build folders around things. So definitely reference that if you want to go back and look at that. But we've got a few emails here focused on different things, whether it's objection handling or scarcity, and then a few SMS examples as well that you can use for your abandoned cart. So again, with our text side of things, we've found that having TxtCart allows the AI and the conversational AI to be a lot more effective than just a text for abandoned carts. So I'd recommend going and downloading that. They actually have a free 1,000 credits and a 14-day free trial. And every single time that we've used it, because we manage and work with lots of different brands, every single time we implement it, we always make a profit. We always generate revenue. And it's actually crazy like how well it works. It's very plug and play, very easy to use. So go ahead and get your free trial down below as well. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. And let me know if you have any questions or any topics you'd like to discuss. And we'll see you in the next video.